Is that who I think it is? Is that Mister?
Yeah.
What's going on, bro?
Thanks for waiting for me, guys. I'm very sorry.
I'd wait for you till 8 in the morning if it took,
No
man.
problem.
You can go to sleep. I'll still be here. I'll be waiting for you, bro.
Beautiful.
So what's going on, man? You just finished coming back from a little action. Let's see this right here. Let's watch this.
This is a warning. That
this is what you do.
Is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Solid contact. Woo!
War is coming.
Solid takedowns here. Look at that spine buster right there. Beautiful. All right, that might have been a little excessive, but nonetheless, that's some good shit right there, man. That's what you're coming back from right now? Those are your current students?
Yeah, we had it was advanced night tonight, so we had a couple matches. I've actually been going live with them on my Instagram just to kind of give people I peel back the curtain a little bit. Hopefully there's some independent wrestlers out there that are able to watch and, maybe pick one little tidbit of information up from watching. We'll have matches and then critiques, and I always open it up to everybody. So everybody, because I believe that even if you're brand new, you still have, we all have opinions, and when something looks good and when something looks bad, right? So, yeah. Every Tuesday and Thursday night.
I've been watching a lot of your live streams. I love the fact that you're streaming the matches. Like, it's fun. If there's nothing going on that night, I've stuck around for at least half an hour before watching matches until my wife will start nagging me about something. I'm sure you know how that goes. By the way, you have a beautiful family.
My wife never nags.
That's awesome.
Love you, honey.
There you go. I love my wife, but she's Greek, traditional, loud.
Mine is too.
Really?
Yeah.
What part of Greece?
Australia.
Okay. I like it. No problem.
Yeah. Sparta.
Sparta. Oh, shit.
Yeah, Sparta.
So a warrior, a fighter, a cook.
Yep.
A comedian. She's probably a jack of all trades, I'm sure.
She absolutely is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
I lucked out. I definitely lucked out.
Have you been to Greece?
I have. I've been to. I went to Greece on vacation. Had to be like 2009.
Okay.
When I left WWE, and I got to tour. Like we went to a couple different places. Ia, and I don't know. There was like 4 different places that we went. Athens.
Yeah, you gotta always go Athens 1 day, 2 days tops.
Yeah.
You gotta go back and you gotta go to my island. I'm gonna send you to my cousin's hotel. It's a minute walk from the beach. Restaurant on the beach. Clubs, bars, lounges, and free Greek food for as long as you want.
Oh, sign me up. I'm
my
there.
family. My last name means moonshine. We make original Greek moonshine. So I literally have barrels of oil and honey and moonshine that you can take home with you.
What is that alcohol that is like, what's the stuff that your grandma makes?
Raki?
Siparo.
Oh yeah, that will do it too. That'll put some hair in your chest real quick.
And then what's the stuff that tastes like black licorice?
Ouzo.
Ouzo.
Yeah, ouzo. Yeah, a lot of Greeks love the ouzo. Absolutely, yeah. Ouzo is good shit. But I want to let everybody know that Mr. Anderson is accepting bookings now for 2023, and I've been seeing you all over the place. I've seen you on the East Coast multiple times the last few months. It seems like you're everywhere.
Yeah, I've been starting to take some more bookings. I took a good two and a half year hiatus from the business where I think I took maybe 2 bookings in that time period. But I guess I needed that little break in the action. And I feel like I'm ready to go again. So I've been having fun.
Now the Academy's been around for how long? It seems like it's been since 2016.
We opened late 2016. We opened in December of 2016. So, roughly 2017. And then we had 2 years off during the pandemic. But
25 graduates.
Yeah, and we've had hundreds of students come through our doors. The thing about graduation is,
I was going to ask you, how hard is it to graduate from the Ken Anderson Academy?
It's hard. I don't ever want to be a player. There's some Taekwondo or karate places where you can go and within 2 years, they'll make you a black belt, right? Like you punch the clock and, okay, you served enough time, here you go. And I can't look at myself in the mirror and do that. So I want to make sure that people are good and that people are, when they go out there and they're an academy graduate, like people will know this person is good to go. So it's not like I don't just hand that out. We don't have like a specific schedule for a graduation. It's just like, my wife and I, in the past, it was like Davari. We would sit down and say like, I think there's several people that are ready to graduate. Let's do it. But
no, I get it, man. When you feel they're ready, you're gonna send them off the right way.
Yeah, and I guess it's subjective, right? It's my opinion at the end of the day. I don't want to. I want everybody to graduate. I want everybody to go to the WWE or Japan or whatever it is that you want to do in this business. I want you to do that. But I'm not going to pretend and I'm not just going to coddle people.
No, the wrestling business is a tough business. You can't just send someone out there if they're not ready. They're going to get slaughtered. You got to prepare them for everything. And that takes, in my opinion, close to 7 years sometimes to really.
I think you're right. I think I didn't, it was about 6 years for me where things really started clicking. And that was like right around the time that I got to WWE. I remember having a match. It was like my last independent match before I got signed to OVW. And about three months after I was at OVW, I went back and I watched that match and I was like floored by how much I didn't know in that match. And I had been wrestling for 6 years.
It's not easy to pick everything up. I mean, from not just knowing, you can learn the moves quick. You can learn how to hit the ropes and all that and put on a little match. But to really understand the actual business, the way bookers work, promoters work, the way people are, how people will stab you in the back, kill you to get everything, you got to really know how to protect yourself out there, and not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. It's a tough business, and if you don't have a thick skin, a lot of people don't last long. You got to be able to take criticism so you can get better.
Yes. And you have to be able to put yourself out there and expect that you're going to hear no. You're going to be turned down. That's part of the process. That's putting yourself out there and screwing up in front of people is part of the process. And you got to hear that constructive criticism and then hopefully you take it in a positive way and you get better. I mean, that's...
Man. I get it, man, because I trained when I was 13 all the way to 17. And I stopped for reasons I don't even want to get into now because we'd be here all night talking about some dark side of the ring shit. But bottom line is, I'm trying to get back into the business now, but I'm doing it my way. And my way is I'm going to every show in character. And I've been doing interviews and this and that. I've been going fucking ape shit. And it's working so far for me on a minor scale, but I've heard a lot of people say no. They don't want me to just be a manager right away. It's like, who the hell are you? Even they don't know that I paid my dues. Severely, 13-year-old kid getting beat up by 25-year-olds. But, it was good shit. I had a good time. Wrestling is a feeling like when I had it to this day, nothing compares to being in that ring after like a year and being able to work with everyone and put on matches and have people just go crazy and to think that you're actually dead in the ring. To think they have to call the fucking ambulance because you're out there selling your soul away in the ring. Every move, every moment, anything I would try my best at. So I'm jealous of anyone in the ring. I really am. It's the best feeling. I love it. And I want to show you something. And you can critique me if you want. This is me taking my first bump after 20 years. Let me know what
Let's see
you
it.
think of this. At the end of a very long day, by the way. Should have slapped, but it's okay.
Not bad, man. Attack!
Oof. I did one more. We're not going to show that one, though. That was bad. But yeah, I know it, man. It's a tough business, man. How many students do you... Go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask, Ken, how do you and Sean just say one day, you know what, we're just going to open this school? How did that all came about?
It was something that I always wanted to do from when I first broke in. I felt like there was this vacuum. There was this void that needed to be filled. We had to go out and just our knowledge was kind of cobbled together from a little bit here and a little bit there, and you go work on this show. And we never had a place where we could just go and listen to somebody who had been to the dance, who could sort of help us, if that makes sense. I mean, nothing against my trainers were awesome. They knew, they understood the business side of the business. They understood the psychology, but they didn't know everything. And once I made it, I was like, I want to make sure that I am able to help other people do this, because it's an awesome job. It's an awesome business. And I want to make sure that I help people out and just sort of maybe streamline so that they, maybe it doesn't take them 6 years to make it to the WWE. Maybe it takes them 2 or 3 years, yeah. And it's just, that is basically one day we just decided, okay, I think we're in a position where we've both had enough experience in the business that we can, because there was a time in TNA, when I was in TNA, where I wanted to open a school, but I just didn't feel like I had enough experience at that point. Even who's going to listen to me? I haven't done enough. That's sort of the way I felt at the time. So I guess eventually it was just Jabari really pulled the trigger on it. He was like, let's just fucking do it.
I can't believe you even felt that way. I mean, the Bound for Glory main events you had and all these matches, even programs with Hardy and they keep going. I can't even believe you would even feel that. I thought you would just have it, I always thought you had it since the beginning, since North American Wrestling. So that's just me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's just I just wanted to make sure that I would be taken seriously, I guess.
I think you were taken super seriously, brother, man. You were one of the best shit talkers, like one of our chat members said, in the history of the business. Without a doubt, one of the best workers. The way you took bumps, your footwork, psychology. And I have to ask real quick about this.
Yep.
Was that all you? Was that your idea for the whole the old school MSG mic drop and all that?
No, it was saying my last name twice was me. Doing the announcing gimmick was Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman suggested one night, he said, go out there, cut the ring announcer off. This was at OVW. And he said, cut the ring announcer off and dress him down, and then you cut your, you do your introduction, and I want you to do it big. And when I was there, I just happened to hit the last name twice thing. And when I came through the curtain, people were like, and the thing was, that night I had like a 25 or 30-minute match with Brent Albright on OVW TV. And we came back to the curtain and people were like, that was awesome when you said your last name twice.
And it's that was
nothing about the clinic we had just put on.
Just the last name twice.
And that's when you know that something's going to work, when the boys put it over. because we've generally seen everything, right? Like we're wrestling fans inside and out, and most wrestlers have seen it all, and you know when something's going to click.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that clicked. It was awesome. I love seeing it. It was one of my favorite things to watch. Because I was like, look at this guy. I was like, when I first saw you, I was like, look at this fucking guy. This guy's coming out. He doesn't give a shit. He's stealing the mic. He's just going crazy. Other people can't even get 10 seconds on the mic. You're spending a minute just saying your name. It's fantastic shit.
I was so fortunate that when I got there, that Paul had given me that gimmick. And when I got to the day that I debuted actually was against Funaki, and it was Velocity. But it initially was supposed to be a dark match. Funaki was going to beat me. But they just wanted to see me do my thing. They wanted me to see, they wanted to check out my announcer thing. And the nice thing was they didn't give me any parameters really. They didn't say, hey, you've got, you only have 30 seconds on the mic. They just said, go out and do your thing. And that's sort of the way that it was for a couple of months, where I would ask Vince beforehand, I would say, like, what do you want me to do? And he would be like, I want you to go out there and get over. I want you to go out there and just be you. Don't worry about being a good guy or a bad guy. Just get over, entertain people. So that's what I tried to do. And then at some point, like, I got a little too funny, a little too carried away. And then he was like, all right, that's enough. Too silly.
What was that like meeting him for the first time, man?
Meeting him for the very first time, I was an extra, and I just remember hearing, do you know who Dick Marcinko was?
Sounds familiar.
He started SEAL Team 6.
Okay.
And I had a friend who got a chance to work underneath him, and he said, like, he was the first person that he ever met where when he looked at you, it was like he was looking through you, like he could see your soul. And he was just like that. You could just sense the power. He gives off a certain energy, and that is definitely Vince to a T. I remember just thinking, wow, this guy, like, and then people would cower around him. I'd say a majority of people that interact with him on a day-to-day basis cower. It's crazy. And he doesn't like it. He likes it, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't want people to cower.
No, he wants people to be themselves. And,
yeah, exactly.
Get the most out of somebody. I thought that was Vince's job, to get the most out of people.
Yep. Yeah, and that was one time I remember for the longest time, I was so frustrated because I was doing my thing, and then he was like, "You're too funny, God damn it! You're too funny. You're too funny. You're too silly. Stop it!" And I was like I just couldn't wrap my head around what he was trying to say. And looking back on it, I look at some of my earlier stuff, and it's cringe to me because I was so over the top and so campy and so corny. And that's, I get it now. But at the time, I was like, the thing that got me to the dance is this. And now you're telling me that I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that, or that's wrong. And I couldn't wrap my head around it for the longest time.
Absolutely crazy career. You won the Money in the Bank fairly quickly. I mean, usually that's like the signal that you're the guy.
Well, and like I did have some he called me into the office one week and said, because they needed to take the title. Undertaker was the title. So I won the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then they had me announce that I was going to cash it in the next year at WrestleMania. Right out of the gates, Crazy. This is what's going to happen. I'm telling you when I'm going to cash it in. It's going to be next year at WrestleMania. And then a couple months go by, and Taker got injured. He injured his biceps and needed to have surgery. So one night they called me back. I had left the building early with Matt Hardy. We were driving together, and Michael Hayes called me. He said, "You need to go talk to Vince." So I went back to the building, and I walked into Vince's office, and it was Vince and Stephanie. And he was like, "Look, we had planned on having Undertaker as our champion for a really long time, but things happen. He needs surgery. He's got to go away for a couple months. So we need to get that title off of him. And we figure this is the best way to do it." So they were going to have me go out and cash the Money in the Bank briefcase in. He laid out the whole scenario for me in a nutshell. And then I left. And the very next weekend I had a couple days off there. And then we had a loop of house shows leading into, I don't remember where TV was, but the house show, we had a double shot in Poughkeepsie. And the very first show on that double shot, I took a weird bump and I felt something pop in my tricep. And then it swelled up immediately. It started turning colors immediately. Like usually when you get a bruise, it takes a couple days for the color to come. And this was like immediately turning purple. And so I went to the emergency room. I got an MRI that night. And then I kind of waited around and eventually Stephanie McMahon called me and she's like, Ken, you tore your triceps off the bone. You need surgery. We still need to get the title off the taker. So they're sending Vince's jet to pick you up. You're going to fly to Penn State and Edge is going to challenge you for the briefcase. You're going to drop it to him and then he's going to go on and do what you were supposed to do. And so I did all that. And then I flew down to Birmingham, Alabama the next day. And I'm sitting on James Andrews' desk or his little table. And he's like just palpating, like grabbing my triceps. And he was like, that's not a tear. And then he said, I don't know. I can't find your MRI. So I can't tell for sure, but I'm feeling around in there and I don't feel a tear. And so sure enough, he had me do another MRI, which sucked because I hate MRIs. I'm kind of claustrophobic and they're so tight. You can't get a full breath. And I did the MRI and sure enough, it was just like a large hematoma. So it was like a misdiagnosis. I don't know who misdiagnosed the original MRI, but yeah, he was like, that's not a tear and you'll be back in like a month. So, but at the end of the day, they still needed to get the title off of Taker and that was what they chose to do. So I'm not I'm not upset about it. It just is. It's kind of a funny story.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
It's kind of crazy, man. It's just crazy. I remember watching that. I was like, oh, this guy, after you had that briefcase, I was like, there's no way this is the next guy. He's going to take over the company because you had everything. I mean, you still do, in my opinion. And what I love is that now you're giving it to these guys. You're giving it to all the students. You're passing it on. Even though I think we could still see you on Raw, AEW, SmackDown, Impact, wherever the hell you wanted to go. And I personally have seen you go. I think you could tear it up with anybody in the ring. We see guys like Edge, doing his thing right now. Do you have any thoughts about maybe giving one more run in WWE?
Yeah, definitely. Every year around Mania, I sort of get the itch.
Of course. And
I don't watch religiously. I don't watch every week, but I do. From time to time, people will say, hey, you should really watch such and such, and I'll make sure I watch that. But every year I watch WrestleMania and it sort of gets me, that itch. And usually the itch goes away after a while, but I feel more motivated now than ever.
Dude,
to do something. Great. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know.
Do you have any contact with them? Do you I know they know what you're doing. You're sending talent all over the place.
Yeah, I still have, it's a really small business, really,
That's true.
Everybody sort of knows everybody. So, I don't know. We'll see. I want to make sure that if that does happen, that I don't make an ass out of myself. I don't want to go out there and be completely out of shape and have everybody say, well, he should have fucking hung him up.
Well, you should have stayed gone for next year, man. I would set it right now. Put that goal out there. You want to be at WrestleMania 40. If Edge could main event WrestleMania with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan or Brian Danielson, whatever the hell he's calling himself nowadays, there's no goddamn reason that Mr. Anderson or Mr. Kennedy, whoever they want. If you did go back, would you want to go back to Kennedy or would you want to stay Anderson?
I honestly don't care. I think, it's funny because people have always said, or not always, but every once in a while I hear somebody say I liked you better when you were Mr. Kennedy. I didn't change anything really,
no, just the name, but big
different. It's just different booking.
The story's still there. You can go back. I'm sure they were going to want to probably bring you back as Kennedy just to have all that story link up. Be like, this is where he was, this is where he is, and this is what he's going to do. I still think we see it. And I would definitely not sell yourself short. There's guys that are still doing it that shouldn't be doing it, and you're definitely not one of them.
Oh, thank you.
I would bring back Two Rivers Jack.
Two Rivers Jack. I had one match as Two Rivers Jack in my career. One match.
Wow.
And it was a rib. It was the guy who I initially called to go to wrestling school. I found his name and number on a website. This was like way back in the day too, before Google. And I called him, and then he had a wrestling school down in Chicago, and he knew of somebody who was starting a wrestling school in Green Bay, which is closer to where I lived at the time. And he called him up and he was like, "Hey, this prick from Two Rivers, Wisconsin wants to get trained. If the prick makes it, I'll use him and I'll call him Two Rivers Jack." And so my very first match that I ever wrestled, I was Kamikaze Ken, and I sold like probably 200 tickets to my friends and family that lived in the area. So it was like a decent sized show. And then the next night I wrestled as Two Rivers Jack in front of about 50 people in an armory. And I wrestled a guy who was like dressed up. He was just a big guy that was he was like fake. Remember Golga from the Oddities?
Yeah. Awesome.
And like I got no offense, got no music. So
do you remember every one of your matches? Because you seem to have like an incredible memory.
I have my wife just laughed.
You're bringing up everything. You're remembering all this shit.
No, I honestly, like,
maybe it's funny like me, bad short-term memory with the wife. She'll say a bunch of things. You're like, what? Yeah.
I remember bits and pieces. But there's a lot that I've forgotten. It's funny because I just went through somebody brought up something on my Wikipedia. So I went through and I was just kind of scrolling and looking, and like somebody has taken painstaking time to like document every feud that I ever had pretty much. And as I'm reading this stuff, I'm going like, oh yeah, I did that, but I don't really remember it.
Shit,
I have like little pieces of memories. Who's an elephant is Matt Hardy. I can call Matt and say, Matt, where did we work the night that, like, I just messaged him a couple weeks ago. I was like, there was one time where I was supposed to work a local guy. He was supposed to wrestle against Psychosis. And segment one, we were supposed to be like, seg one was a King Booker segment, right? Booker T was King of the Ring. He was doing the cool King's Court thing. And he had Rick Regal and Finley and all those guys out there. Just like a promo segment. And then seg two was me versus the local guy, which is supposed to be like an enhancement squash match. And three was supposed to be Psychosis. And Matt Hardy came around the corner right in the middle of seg one. And he goes, "We've got a 3-segment match and we're up next." And so I asked him like what night was that, and of course he knew it.
Wow, I know a lot of guys write there. I know guys like Jericho write their matches down. What are you trying to teach these guys? Like now that you've been through everything, are there a couple of lessons that you wait like a good year or two before you start dropping on them, or do you try to get them mentally prepared ASAP?
I mean, I think I tried.
You're bringing in all kinds of experts too. You got Eric Rowan over there in one seminar, and I know you're in the ring personally with all these guys. How much time do you spend in the ring with them a week? Would you say the whole time, every time you're open?
Every time, pretty much for the most part, every time we're open there. Every once in a while, I'll have one of our captains run the class, but for the most part, it's me, and I physically get in there with them. I'm not in there demonstrating every bump, but if I feel like somebody's not getting it, or even if I feel like somebody's a little more dangerous, they're just not getting it, I'll get in there with them myself and put myself at risk first, just because I feel like I can take care of myself a little better.
Speaking of Booker T, there he is. I'm sure that seminar was a blast.
Yeah, it was great. And a lot of the seminars too is like, I remember X-Pac came to one of our seminars and we had to like pull the hook out on him. We had to like, "Hey man, you got to go," because like, I think he needed to call a family member or something like that. But he wanted to stay. He was just having so much fun dropping knowledge on people. But yeah, I'd say a good 6 hours a week I'm in the ring with people at least.
Are you doing seminars? Are you taking bookings for seminars?
I am. Yep.
I'm going to talk to Alpha Junior. I'm going to talk to. Have you been to Battlefield yet?
It's possible, but remember we talked about that. Remember we talked about that memory thing?
Yeah, this is in Broadheadsville, Pennsylvania. You probably haven't been there, I don't think, because they just opened, reopened like a few months ago, like in December.
Yeah.
Doing shows. I'm working for them now. We're streaming on the Premier Streaming Network. I'm about to get my own show on the Premier Streaming Network any day now, because I do the preview show, I do the interviews and all that good stuff, commentary. I'm all over the place here. So I'm going to talk to Alpha and Bull. I'd love to personally invite you to the Battlefield to have a stand there.
Let's work it out.
We're going to set that up. That's breaking news. We're going to set that up. But 100% I'm going to make that happen for you. This is the show coming up at the end of, actually, Sunday. This asshole, this guy, Matt Cardona?
I do. Is he doing a seminar for you guys too?
No, he ain't doing a seminar. He's just coming down to get his ass kicked by Casey Navarro. Do you know Casey Navarro?
Nah, it doesn't sound familiar.
You got to get used to this guy. That's Casey Navarro right there. Hell of a young talent, big prospect in the business.
He looks like he's got a good look.
He's got a good look, and you got to see this guy in the ring. I'll show you highlights later. I'll send you some on Facebook. You know this guy, David LaGreca?
I've never met him personally. At least I don't think I. But I know. I know of him.
Do you listen to Busted Open?
I do not.
Okay,
I don't.
Well, let me explain something. Yesterday, your girl Tiffany Stratton was on there telling everybody, "Have you heard of Ken Anderson?" And of course, Bully Ray's like, "Oh no, I never heard of that guy. He's fucking around." Of course, she doesn't even know that she's talking to one of the Dudley boys over there. But apparently, you trained her or evaluated her.
Well, I gave probably their first 6 months in the business. It was she came to the academy. She took her first bump in our ring. And then she went down. She happens to be like good friends with Greg Gagne. I think Greg Gagne's a family friend of hers. So Greg was able to get her a look by WWE. WWE brought her down and gave her a tryout. And I believe her first tryout happened right when COVID was happening. They were in the middle of a tryout. I think they had like 1 day. And then they told them that COVID just happened. They shut everything down and everybody had to go back home. And then she didn't end up going back down there for several months. But obviously when she did, she turned some heads.
She must have had some good progress in front of you in order to make this whole progression. I'm sure she impressed you a little bit. What were your thoughts on her instant response to wrestling and bumping and all that?
Well, she's the type of person that if you show you don't even necessarily have to show her, just, hey, I want you to try to do this. And she would execute it almost perfectly. And then it was just a matter of like you said earlier, like people can do the moves, but you need to know what to do in between the moves and stuff. And honestly, she didn't have enough ring time for me to really evaluate that. I knew she had great instincts. I knew that she was absolutely gifted athletically. She didn't have much of a personality. And when I say that, like, she hadn't found that piece yet.
That's what takes the most time, man.
Because she was concerned about learning the physicality. Like, how do I do this? How do I put it together? But I mean, the stuff that I've seen since then, she absolutely she gets it. She gets everything.
She's killing it. She was on NXT tonight. She actually had a title shot.
I don't know if you didn't catch the match, but Indy Hartwell, the champ, she caught a nasty injury on her ankle. And I'm telling you now, Perez and Stratton, your girl that graduated, actually called the match on the fly for the last 8 minutes. How do you feel about that? I mean, because that to me is just impressive from somebody that just maybe been there a year or two, I would say. Very impressive, especially live.
That's phenomenal. Like that's the stuff that I love to hear. Just about anybody, not even my students. I just like when I hear that, hey, this person was dealt a shit sandwich and they were able to like turn it into
I was very impressed.
Chicken salad.
Yeah. Chicken salad out of chicken shit.
There you go. Brock, you have any run-ins with Brock? I mean, you guys, I think you're from the same state, right?
Yeah, Brock Lesnar actually was a huge help in my career. So I sort of, we became friendly when I would go and do extra work at the Raws and SmackDowns whenever they were in town. And he happened to like be ringside when I was working, and he kind of pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, who trained you?" And I told him, and then he was like, "You need to go hook up with Brad Rangans," because Brad Rangans, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brad, but Brad was an old AWA wrestler, and he's trained JBL, he trained the Nasty Boys, he trained Kurt Hennig, he trained, just an absolutely fantastic trainer. He was the guy that originally trained Brock, and Brock said, "I want you to hook up with him," and he ended up getting me in contact with Brad. Brad was starting up a school, or he was opening his doors for like a cycle. And I want to say it was like a 6-month course. It was like 3 or 6 months. I'm not exactly sure, but it was like 2 or 3 times a week. And I would drive out, and it was me. And I remember Curtis Axel. I was there when Curtis Axel took his first bumps. He was, Kurt Hennig's son.
Wow.
And I think there was about 10 of us that went through that course. And he just polished me. And then fast forward, I'm at Raw again, and I'm in the ring doing they had the extras get in the ring and just kind of like tag in and tag out. And then Paul Heyman pulled me aside and he was like, "Who trained you?" And I said, "Well, I got trained by these 2 guys in Green Bay. And then I got polished up by Brad Rangans." And he was like, "Oh, I know Brad, like he's a Brock Lesnar guy." And that sort of sealed the deal with me and Paul Heyman. And then Paul became a huge advocate for me, and ultimately he was like the straw that broke the camel's back, where I was able to make it to TV. I went from being at OVW, sort of floundering, not being able to find my way, to Paul Heyman got to OVW, got the pencil, as they say, and he pulled me aside and said, "You're the next guy out of here. I'm going to do so much stuff with you on OVW TV that they are going to see you. You will be on TV very shortly." And 5 weeks later, I was on TV, making my debut.
That's awesome. I can't believe how many careers he's had his hands on, man.
And how would you say were Hammers and Mercury? Were they good trainers from the beginning?
They were just awesome. Like still to this day, I can talk to them about the business and the psychology of the business, and they get it. Hammers used to, every Wednesday night, I would have Wednesdays and Thursdays off from work, and I'd work like every other weekend. And Hammers would come over every Wednesday night, and we would watch. I believe at the time, ECW was on. Was it TNT or TNN? TNN.
I used to watch it late nights.
Yeah, and then he would have this giant box of VHS tapes, and he would just go one after another, and we would sit up all night long, and he would kind of dissect everything and pick apart the matches, and like, this is why they're doing this, and I could ask questions. We would just chit chat and bullshit. We did that for months, and then I'd go to camp, and Merc would help me out, and it was just like they were awesome. I couldn't have asked for better trainers.
Do you tell your kids to watch a lot of tape?
And actually, I will say that they have trained. Merc has been the trainer of several other people. Silas Young. Are you familiar with Silas Young?
Yeah.
Beer City Bruiser, I believe, had a hand in training him. Joey Avalon, Joey Jet, who just did something for Ring of Honor this last week. So he's had a couple. I was his first student though. So that's my claim to fame.
How do you get noticed? Because like I said, North American wrestling, you were like basically kicking ass. I think you got noticed. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you got noticed maybe 20 matches in order to somebody come up to you and be like, "Hey, you kid, hey, you know what? Why don't you do some extra work here at WWE when we're in Wisconsin?"
No, I don't see it that way. What I see was I wanted to send a tape. Like after my very first match, I wanted to send a tape to WWE, and I kept sort of expressing that to people, and people would say, no, don't send a tape. You're fucking definitely not ready yet. And my thoughts were, and then their mentality was, if you send them a tape now and they see what you have to offer right now, you're so green, that's all they're going to remember. And I just remember thinking, no, if they see that I'm green and they critique me even a little bit, and then I send a tape a couple months from now and I show improvement, they're going to see that improvement. They're going to see that I'm coachable. And so that's just what I did. I sent my first tape to WWE. I don't even think I had been in the business for 9 months when I sent my first tape. And I happened to like pick up one of those old school, it was one of the magazines that the entire issue was devoted to. It was the phone numbers and addresses of all of the wrestling schools in the country, or just all the wrestling promotions in the country. First page was WWE, WWF at the time. Then it was WCW, then ECW, and then there was all these little independent promotions behind it. And I made up a tape and I sent it to him. And I got a call. I wasn't expecting to hear anything back. And about 5 days later, I got a call back from Kevin Kelly. And he's like, I liked what I saw on the tape. You've got good potential. So then he booked me as an extra for a Raw and SmackDown it was Milwaukee and Chicago. And then I went and I was able to eat the catering and rub elbows a little bit, but I didn't get to work. And then since I had that in, I would just call him like every 3 months, every 4 months, and just check in. I'd send another tape, and then I'd call him a couple days later and say, hey, is there anything that I can do to improve? And then if I saw that WWE was going to be anywhere near where I lived, I would ask, hey, is it possible for me to get booked as an extra? And sometimes he would tell me no, but enough times he was able to tell me yes. And so then every time I would go and work as an extra, I would just try to be a sponge. And, anytime they asked me to get in the ring, I'd get in the ring and I'd give it my all. There was a time I remember I got in the ring and they told me to work with somebody, and I just completely shit the bed. And I remember Bill DeMott, like in front of everybody, going, get the fuck out of the ring, get out of the ring. And I was so embarrassed, but it forced me to work harder. And then eventually, and then my other thing was, I was there. If I got a match on TV, I knew that I wasn't there to make myself look good. I was there to make that other person look good. So I would just, what would you like me to do? And I try to do that to the best of my ability. And the thing is like, the people that are in the know, the people that are in control of the business, they know what your job is. They don't care if you, like, going out there and doing moves on people and hitting offense and stuff like that. It's not impressive. Anybody can do it, but they can look at a screen and say, wow, that kid is really out there busting his ass and trying to make that other guy look really good. That's what we're after. And I think that, that helped me out more than anything. And it was five years of doing that, and 5 years of going and doing. I did probably, I'd say close to at least 10 dark matches and Velocity and Sunday Night Heat matches, possibly as much as 15.
You probably did
over
Jacked too, right? They had a show Jacked, I'm sure, right?
Yep. Jacked, Metal. At Sunday Night Heat, my very first match in a WWE ring was against S.A. Rios on Sunday Night Heat.
I probably saw it live at WWF New York. I was there every week.
2001.
2001, that sounds right. Yep.
Sunday Night Heat was good shit.
Uh-huh.
Damn, man.
But I did want to talk about your career, because I believe you had him. I loved you in WWE. You were my guy. So in 2005, I know 2006, you were like probably on your way top heel, I would say, in my eyes. But you had one amazing match on SmackDown. You had it with Eddie Guerrero. I believe it was the Survivor Series spot you guys were fighting for. I thought that was one hell of a match. It was unfortunate what happened, I believe, 2-3 days after. How do you feel about that match, and what do you learn from Eddie going into that match? And if you want to talk about that, I believe I heard you out there saying it was an unfortunate honor. If you want to talk about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, I have that title. Everybody remembers like Eddie's last match was against me, and in particular Eddie Fashion, he did that spot with the chair where he threw the chair at me and pretended like I hit him with it, and I'm just lucky to have been able to share a ring with him one time. And it just sucks that was the last time. But yeah, I'm definitely like honored. I understand the gravity of the situation, I guess.
Crazy.
But yeah, I just like he was always so helpful. When I got there, he would take time with me. I remember MVP was just coming up at the same time. Like he just sort of pulled us and put us under his wing and sort of helped us out there. To be honest, like there was a lot of talent on SmackDown when I first got there that was like that. That was everybody. Everybody was very helpful and friendly.
I mean, you've been in the ring with some of the biggest legends, man. And the best part is that you're going to help create some new legends. I wanted to just show a couple of your graduates. How does it feel to see some of these guys doing their thing in AEW nowadays?
Awesome. Like is that
more rewarding than the wrestling itself for you?
I was going to say, I think, I don't know if it's more rewarding. It's like equally as rewarding to see Dante and Darius and Julia. Julia's not a graduate of the Academy, but Julia Hart is one of our students too. To see like Tiffany Stratton, we had Von Wagner from NXT, and he was one of our students. There's a couple more that are escaping.
Von Wagner's tremendous, man.
Yeah, he he's got some lineage in the building in the business. His dad,
right?
Wayne the Train Bloom, from the Beverly Brothers.
Yeah, WWF.
And he took to it like a fish to water. He was just like athletically gifted. The funny thing is with him, I wasn't quite sure. I tried never to pre-qualify people. I tried never to look at somebody and go like definitely no or definitely yes. But you can't help but look at somebody and say, do I think this person's going to make it? And I felt like at the very beginning, I thought he's not really like passionate about the business. So I just think this is something that he's, dad suggested, hey, try this out. But once he started learning the basics, man, he just, he would tell me like him and his dad would sit up and watch tape, and then he just immersed himself in the business. And
thanks, man.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, and then he got signed to WWE, and that became his job. When you go to, if you are fortunate enough to go to NXT on a developmental, like I would never leave the building. Like I'd make them kick me out of the building.
Probably the greatest wrestling facility in the country right now, right? Or maybe in the world.
It is, and then you've got like nutrition experts working with you. You've got, coaches that'll fine tune your workouts.
It's not 1980 anymore, that's for sure. Wrestling was a lot different back in the 80s.
They would have to kick me out of the building every night. They would have to go home.
Do you watch a lot of current product? Like how often, maybe a month, would you say you do, or a week, would you tune into Raw or NXT AEW?
Every couple of weeks, I'll skim. Or like I said, if somebody tells me, hey, you got to see this match, or I remember I watched a little bit of the build up to Sammy and Roman, which I believe is a textbook definition. Like when we say less is more is less. Those guys didn't touch each other for 4 minutes and 45 seconds after the bell rang.
Yeah.
The bell rang and I counted 4:45 before they touched each other. And it wasn't boring. And then when they did touch each other, it was headlock, tackle, let it breathe. Headlock, tackle, it was just like they just kept upping it just step by step. So
no, they did it well done. But Cuddly over here, Cuddly Corey's got a good question. He wants to know, have you been backstage at Raw or SmackDown or NXT in recent memory?
Yeah, I've been there a few times.
Okay.
And then what's up, Corey? Yeah, I've been backstage a few times. I think twice since I got released from the company in 2009. Just some of my students have worked as extras over the last couple of years. So when they come into town, and like Davari is a good buddy of mine, we opened the school together. He's a producer there now. So
nice. I wanted to ask you about one guy in particular, because you were known for being an asshole, right? I think you still pride yourself in being an asshole. Like, that's your shtick.
On TV.
On TV, of course. In real life, you're actually, maybe you're the cuddly stud muffin. I don't know, man, but you're a good guy. What do you think about this guy and his job right now as being the world's current biggest asshole in the world?
He's awesome. Like, I love listening to his stuff. I really do. There is nobody on the mic better than that guy right now. And truly getting real heel heat. I think it's hard to do. He doesn't go out there and try to be funny or cool. He just wants to be a dick, and he's very, very good at it. And I love the fact too. Like, I'll see him do. I think I saw him do Impractical Jokers or something with Impractical Jokers, and he was still kind of in character. He just never fully allows himself to step.
Man,
I've never met him. At least I don't think I've ever met him in person. I doubt that he's really like that in real life, but he really does a good job getting us to suspend our disbelief.
The 2 times I've talked to him, he told me to go fuck myself very politely. But, I'm going to see him again coming up over here May 13th. His own mother, she knows me very well. I've seen her a few times. Every time I see her, she lets me do a video. Here's one video.
Go! We're here live with MJF's mom, and her son, the greatest wrestler in the world, is going to win the AEW World Championship tonight, and there's nothing anyone can do about it!
Yeah, so I go a little crazy sometimes.
Nice.
But the last time I talked to her, she told me she wants me to find people to help her beat up her son. She wants the Savage Kingdom to take control of the professional wrestling world and send some people after MJF. I'm going to let him know this on May 13th, so it's going to be good times. I'm probably going to get kicked out of the building, Ken, but you know what? I don't fucking care.
I love it. I love the fact that you commit to the gig.
Oh, 100%. I would love to show you more shit later, but we have more stuff to talk about with you because I need to know a couple more things. Obviously, we know now you watch AEW once in a while. Here's a list of all the titles you have held. You have been all over the place. You've won a lot of titles. That United States Championship, you should have held it for 4,200 days. But, maybe next time you win it. Look at all the different matches you had per year, per company. You've put in the time, you put in the work everywhere. Have you done New Japan?
I have not done New Japan. That's something that has sort of been on my bucket list that I haven't ticked off yet.
God, that would be huge in the Tokyo Dome. That mic comes down and all those fucking people just like go nuts because we all know who you are. Everybody knows who you are. Even in Japan, they know who you are.
I worked twice, 3 times, I believe. We did 3, and none of them were televised. It was just 3 house shows that we did over in Japan when I was with WWE. And I remember I wrestled Jericho. Wow. And going into it, I was so nervous, thinking, it's either going to be like they like strong style or they want like high flying flippy stuff, and I don't work like that. And I had never worked in front of a crowd that they were silent, and then something would happen, and then they would just clap, the little golf clap thing, and they were so easy. It wasn't like that at all. We went out there, and it's funny because like the crowd was emulating what they saw on WWE programming. So they were sort of playing along with, they were booing the heels, they were cheering the baby faces. At some point, Jericho had me in a headlock, and I remember I turned away from the ref and I reached up slowly and I grabbed a handful of hair and I just pulled, and the whole place just started booing. And then he would just crank it and I'd let go and they boo. And we did it like 5 or 6 times. I remember being in the hole kind of laughing. I can't believe how easy this is. Then they popped for just a reversal from the corner. I shot him out of the corner and he reversed me. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it was overall, it was a good experience. I loved Tokyo is one of my favorite cities in the world. And the fans over there are so just unbelievably respectful. I remember coming down from my hotel room at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to go do media, and they would wait patiently and ask you permission. And a lot of them had gifts. They would offer you a gift in return for you signing an autograph.
Wow.
Whereas, sometimes in the States.
Yeah, they shove 20 figures and 8x10s as soon as you come out of the plane.
At WrestleMania 23, we were in Detroit. I was at GameStop a couple days before the show. And this lady comes up to me and she goes, "You're not going anywhere." And she walked away. And I knew I sort of knew she was going to get somebody so that I could take a picture and sign an autograph. And I remember thinking, when she comes back, I'm going to cuss her out. That's messed up, right? And then she came walking back with this 5 or 6 year old kid, and I remember immediately softening and
yeah,
I'm not gonna let the kid suffer because mom was a dummy.
Yeah,
but
100%. That's crazy, man. I had this picture up before. I'm sure you're familiar with the real Mount Rushmore, right? You ever been to the real Mount Rushmore?
I have not.
Okay, well, if we built a new one in Stamford, Connecticut, let's say, right behind the WWE headquarters, what 4 faces would Ken Anderson put in there?
Steve Austin, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and I'd say Bret Hart.
Excellent 4. I had to ask. I just had to know. When did you start watching wrestling? I'm assuming. I feel like you're a lifelong wrestling guy. Were you a fan of the WWF before or no?
I started watching wrestling in 1997.
So you were a Stone Cold guy then?
Yeah, that was the first person. I watched briefly during the cartoon days when they had Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling on the Saturday mornings. And then I just fell off it for some reason. I don't remember exactly why, but I fell off. And then I always sort of gave people a hard time. If my friends liked wrestling, I'd be like, "What are you watching? I don't want that crap. It's all fake and blah, blah, blah." The same that you hear. And one of my friends one night convinced me to watch it. And I remember looking at the screen, not really caring what I was seeing, not really liking what I was seeing. And then I heard the glass break, and this bald-headed son of a bitch came driving down to the ring in a black pickup truck. And he had a 6-pack of beer, and he was, just his whole attitude, his demeanor, flipping people off, beating people up. And I remember thinking, all right, that guy's kind of cool. And then I started watching every week just to see what he would do. And I got sucked into everything else. Then it was it was during the start of the Attitude Era. And it was
2 years later you debuted?
What was that?
And then 2 years later you debuted, watched 97 and they debuted 99?
Yeah, I made my indie debut in 99. Yep.
So if it wasn't for Stone Cold Steve Austin, you're probably not a professional wrestler.
No, definitely not.
So without Stone Cold, what would you be doing right now? Where do you think what was your dreams? Did you have other dreams? Obviously, you weren't into wrestling. So what was your thing growing up?
I always wanted to entertain. I always wanted to be an actor or something like that. I just kind of had, I don't know, I had sort of given up on that. I wasn't about to move to, I had gotten a job. The job paid well. I had decent benefits, insurance, and a little upward mobility. I was a nuclear security guard I was a security guard at a nuclear power plant, armed security. And, I think I started out at 20 bucks an hour or something like that, which is good pay 20 some years ago. And I don't necessarily know that I saw myself in that same position, but I figured I would just move up the ladder there. But I always had that itch. I always wanted to entertain people. And then when I figured out there's this thing called wrestling out there, and I realized that wasn't what everybody had made it out to be. I just sort of figured it's a good blend of all the things that I already like. Like, I love the athleticism. I love the storytelling. It's a blend of everything all rolled into one. So when I found you could go to wrestling school, I was all in. I remember being in the ring the very first.
Close to you?
Well, yeah, it was about 35 minutes away from my house.
Perfect.
So we trained every Sunday. Every Sunday we trained, and we would be there for like 4 or 5 hours. So it was a lengthy process. I trained for like 8 or 9 months before I made my debut. So it was a lengthy sort of process. And to be honest, when I made my debut, I didn't think I was ready to make my debut. And looking back on it, I probably wasn't. But sometimes you just have to pull the trigger and then adjust.
You were persistent. You kept sending your tapes in even when people were telling you not to. I mean, it's that go-getter attitude. You had your vision, your idea of what would do it for you, and you were right. Not everybody can say that. A lot of people don't have that dedication to flip the switch. It seemed like you saw Stone Cold. When that glass shattered, that was it. That changed your life.
I believed that he believed. He was able to get me to suspend my disbelief. I had always thought wrestling was kind of campy. And I guess if you look back to the crazy character days, it was a little bit, but for some reason I believed Austin.
The whole nation did. The whole world did. I mean,
yeah.
How do you feel about acting? I mean, you did a movie. I think it's Enemy Lines Colombia, I believe.
Yep.
How do you like the acting experience?
I loved it. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. It was a dream come true. It's funny because you get used to the way the wrestling business operates, and the wrestling business is very, like, we would work, you get 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep every night when you're on the road with WWE sometimes, because it's all the stuff that people don't see, all the travel that's involved to get from one town to the next, or in the case of overseas travel, it'd be like one country to the next. I forget where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Acting, Enemy Lines, Colombia.
Hollywood. And just how, like, but in the acting industry, it's very, you can only work a certain amount of hours every day. I remember one time being on set, and the assistant director was like, "All right, guys, we only have 45 minutes. We need to get this shot, and we need to be out." And I pulled her aside, and I was like, "Hey, I'm cool sticking back. Like, let's just fucking do it until we're done." And she said, that doesn't work that way here. With SAG, with the Screen Actors Guild, like, you have to, it's like 8 hours.
Yeah.
And if they go over that, they have to start paying people a ridiculous sum of money. So
no, Hollywood's a real world. I actually did movie security for Paramount. I worked with Samuel L. Jackson for 6 months. Getting him coffee and listening to him talk about how much money he was making from Star Wars.
Oh boy.
But those guys work hard. I remember being on set for sometimes 15 hours.
Yep.
And he's doing the same fucking scene with 100 different extras every couple of hours.
Yep.
15 fucking hours. And same lines, it's rough. That's another rough business.
Yeah. So. It's definitely harder work than it appears to be.
100%. Especially if you're shooting on set. I remember I was on another set with Alec Baldwin, and they were trying to film this fucking scene. And I can't even tell you how many pedestrians kept, coming up to him to take a fucking picture while we're filming a movie.
And did he do it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was cool until he got annoyed, and then he just went in his trailer and didn't come out till the next day. So, yeah,
I honestly, I've experienced a little bit of the fame. I can't imagine what it's like to be somebody like a Tom Cruise or a Brad Pitt or
Elvis Presley, who has to rent out
Just-
the entire movie theater just to watch a movie.
yeah. You can't. I imagine everywhere you go, everybody recognizes you. Everybody wants to get a picture with you. So, like, just thinking about going to the gas station to fill up your tank with gas, running inside, getting a drink, and going out to the car. You've probably done, depending on how busy, what time of day it is, you've done 20 autograph and picture sessions. So I can imagine. I sort of understand when people get sort of closed off. And
When you were wrestling at the top of your game, what was the longest you were away from home at a time that you remember? Like a grueling trip or tour? Or...
I think 22 days. 22 days. I mean, besides filming the movie, we filmed the movie in Puerto Rico. I think we filmed for 21 days straight. But we were there for a few days before that and a few days after. But actually a wrestling tour, I think it was 21 or 22 days. And if I'm not mistaken, we did 19 shows in 21 or 22 days.
That's great.
And every show was in a different town in the U.S. or a different country, because part of it involved an overseas tour. It was my first overseas
I'm sure
tour.
you did Europe. You probably did the troops, tribute to the troops a couple of times.
Yeah, we did nine shows on that particular loop. We did 9 shows throughout Europe, and we'd never had a day off. So it was just like we would be in Glasgow one night, we would be in Dublin, Ireland the next night, we would be in London, England the next night, Paris, France the next night. It was just...
And you only have like a couple hours to maybe try and enjoy it.
Yeah, and you would either say screw it. I was in Rome, I think 3 times before I ever got to see anything, before I ever got to go to the Colosseum or do any of that stuff. And it's just, you see the inside of a bus, or you're looking through the windows of a bus, you see the inside of a hotel and the inside of an arena, and that's it.
And you move on to the next city.
Yeah. Unless you sacrifice sleep, which sometimes you do. Sometimes all right, guys, we're going to go out tonight. Or some guys you'd sacrifice sleep and get a tour together and go look at some of the sites.
I did want to ask about that real quick. What was the environment like when you were doing your thing? Was there a lot of partying going on, or was that, because I know the 80s were a wild time, and there was a lot of peer pressure and bad influences, and a lot of guys turned away and would say no, and they wouldn't go and make that trip to the bar or the club or the hotel room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was it like when you were wrestling? Was it still like that?
Yeah, it wasn't crazy or anything like that. It wasn't like crazy with drugs and stuff, but we would definitely go out and drink. We go, hit the nightclubs, but also we were there to work. So we worked hard. And then when it was time we had a couple hours to play, we'd play really hard too. But, I remember seeing guys like Cena who would, close down the bar and be the first person that would be in the gym at like 6 o'clock the next morning. Good morning, gents. Like,
fucking animal.
You are, if you went out and partied, you still have to do your job.
Yeah.
So there's no like sleeping in or not hitting the gym. There's just like, this is what you got to do. This is your job. If you're going to have fun, you also have to do the work.
Is there one story, whether it's a horror story or the craziest shit you've ever seen, without name dropping anyone and, embarrassing anybody, what's the craziest shit you've seen in all your years of professional wrestling? Whether it be in a ring, in a hotel, in a bar, in a club, in a back car seat, whatever the fuck. The craziest shit you've ever seen. Wrestling is wild, man. I've been doing this for about over a year now, and I've seen some shit already, man. I'm like, I didn't see a lot when I was a kid. They would stick me in a van, take me to New Jersey, hit me in the head with a fucking chair. I got hit in the head with a chair by Jimmy Snuka, and then he got paid $500 for the show, and all the students made him waste that $500 to buy us drink.
Hey, at least he did it.
He did.
Yeah. Boy. Nothing comes to mind that's like absolutely crazy. I don't think I witnessed anything too crazy. It was just good times usually. Nothing really insane.
Always gotta ask.
I guess the craziest thing I saw one time,
this guy looks
bunch of wrestlers doing finishers. We were in a nightclub, and they had a stage, and guys were doing finishers to each other in front of everybody. It was like all these people that you see on TV every week, big stars to mid carders to undercard guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your feud with Kurt Angle like, man? You guys still going at it? You guys getting along nowadays?
Man, he was a dream to work with. He really was awesome.
Great guy.
Guy's a cyborg. He's built differently. When you worked with Kurt, you just had to be. It's just go 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 go. But he brought the best out of me, I think.
Very intense guy.
Yep.
Also was never into wrestling, and then
took to it like a fish to water, right? Like
one of the craziest careers I think I've ever seen in history. To be honest, the way he just came in and just took that championship off of like Triple H or Stone Cold or The Rock. He was beating up the top guys in the business. I don't know if you remember that one match, King of the Ring, where Kurt Angle just beat the snot out of Stone Cold, suplexed him like 19 times and beat him.
I do not remember that, but I just remember thinking he had everything and he got it the minute he came into the business. I mean, he had the personality, promos. Was just, is that me and Flair?
That's you and Flair, yeah. Well, tell us about some Flair, man. What'd you think about his last match, man?
I haven't seen it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I can't give you an honest opinion on it.
Oh, don't worry. He'll have another one. That wasn't his last match. That was his last match. Go on. I love the work that you did with Undertaker. What's that like, taking a choke slam from
MVP and I used to so it was Taker would usually do the tombstone and Kane would do the choke slam. And MVP and I used to like rock, paper, scissors to see who was going to do the choke slam and who was going to do because one of them, the choke slam is a hard bump to take because they're so tall to begin with. You're way up there and you take this big bump. And the tombstone is just an easy, like, you just go for a ride basically upside down.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt. But that was kind of funny. We'd come back on a daily basis whenever we were at SmackDown. They would have us do the main event dark match. So, you might work. I remember at the time ECW was on, so you might work an ECW match. You might have a couple promos during the night or a couple backstage segments and then a match. And then they would have you do the main event dark match just to send the people home happy. But we were married to Kane and Taker for the better part of a year. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 months. And I loved every minute of it, man. They were just really, really awesome to work with.
I can imagine, all the years in the business experience they have together. And at the time, I'm pretty sure he was probably the locker room leader without a doubt. Even
without a doubt.
There,
yeah,
he was
absolutely
that everybody would go to.
My first time working with Taker, I was so. It was crazy because you'd think I would be super stressed out, and it was just the opposite because he told me, he's like, "We're not talking about this in the locker room. I'll call it to you in the ring. Just listen to me." So I just knew that he wasn't going to go out there and shit the bed. So I just had to listen to him. And when he told me to do something, I had to do it to the best of my ability. And that's a really liberating experience.
Undertaker's one of the best of all time, man. I want you to tell me a little bit about your finisher. Did you come up with it? Did somebody give it to you, or was it all you?
Yeah, I believe it was Arn Anderson that suggested that I do that because I was doing the Finley roll off the second rope for a while, and it was one of those things. I remember coming back going to the showers.
You should have hit Bully with that. You should have hit Bully with that. God damn it!
I remember With what, the Finley roll?
This, yes.
Well, I did that to him into a casket. We did a casket match. That was like the blow off to our feud. And there was this tiny little casket, and he hit that thing perfectly. Yeah, but I remember coming back from doing the Finley roll off the second, and I think it was JBL said, "Hey man, that's a great finisher you got. I'll never take it." And Jake, are you going to take that? Nope, probably not. And then I just remember thinking, well, I get it. It looks dangerous. It's hard to get people into, so I got to come up with something that everybody can do. So then I started exploring with Arn, and Arn suggested that.
Did you enjoy working with Cena?
I did. I didn't, at the time it was like, I think I was in a kind of a bad place mentally. And I don't know how I got there, but like, I really looked at when I was working with him, I was punching the clock, and it's just weird to hear myself say that. Even like that just became a thing where I was just I was punching the clock,
just going to work and going home.
Yep.
It happens, man. It's a grueling business, and it can, you were younger at the time. I don't think you probably even were realizing what you had at the time. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of us men a long time to grow up, dude. I didn't grow up till I was probably 29. When I got engaged, I realized, there's more to life than just clocking in and clocking out, making money.
You don't need to hold on to bad things, just wash it away.
Not at all. Like I said, I think we see Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, whatever they want to call him. This guy needs to be back in the show ASAP. And I want him to make that a goal for himself, because I think he still has much more to offer this business. Much, much more. And I'm talking about on TV, at WrestleMania, in the Royal Rumble. There's unfinished business there, Mr. Anderson. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, really.
And I want to see it. I want to see it. And I know there's plenty of people out there, if not millions of people out there, that would love to see you come back and slap the taste out of plenty of people's mouths. Whether it be WWE, AEW. Me, personally, I want to see you in WWE. I wouldn't mind seeing you go one-on-one with, Austin Theory, new young gun, who deserves to get his face caved in by a veteran like yourself.
I love that kid.
He's great.
I like his work.
Oh, yeah. He's phenomenal. He's the only one that I could say that reminds me of a young Randy Orton, as far as like coming in and looking kind of flawless almost.
Yeah.
He's got the look. He's a stud.
Definitely.
Look at this picture. There he is. What was it like working with Vince McMahon, though, overall, though? Like, do you have a memorable experience or a memory? I'm sure. Did you ever get to go to his mansion?
I never went to the mansion, but I had a good experience working with him. I remember, like, he oftentimes had, like I said, it was frustrating because he just kept telling me, like, you shit the bed. I remember the first time I cut a promo on Raw. My first night on Raw, I went out, I cut a promo to start the show. I came back thinking, and I remember walking up the ramp kind of like, yeah, fuck yeah, follow that. And I walked through the curtain, and everybody was kind of quiet. And usually when you come through and you've done a good job, everybody kind of gives you a round of applause or pat you on the back. You know you've done something wrong when everybody is trying to get small and, like, kick at a spot on the floor or pick at something. And Vince was like, he's like, that's the worst fucking thing I've ever heard. Worst fucking promo I've ever heard in my life. And I just remember, like, I was so frustrated. I didn't know what to do. And Jericho pulled me aside at one point. He was like, he cares. He cares about you. He likes you. He's doing that because he likes you, because he sees something in you. So don't take it the wrong way.
Nah, 100% criticism usually means people care, man. If they're willing to take the time to tell you something they didn't like, it's because they care. And I just wanted, before we let you go, because I know it's getting late and you probably want to get to bed. You've been working all night. Everybody, please go follow the Academy School of Professional Wrestling. They are on Facebook. You can hit up the website, the Academy, SOPW.com. You can get all your information from there about the school training. I believe you give a free consultation to anybody that wants to become a student, right?
Yep. Yeah, we allow people to come in and tour our facility and also sit and observe a class.
That's
just awesome. to make sure that it's something that fits for them. That I want, because we've got a really positive environment. I think I want people to see that.
I love how you have everything very upfront. Full class. It is what it is. $3,500 for the year, which is not a bad deal at all.
Yep.
You're learning from a former true professional and one of the best talkers in the business, one of the best bumpers in the business, workers. And then you do the private training as well. So if someone wants to just come in and get a little one-on-one, you offer that.
Yep. And then we also offer continuing education. So once you've completed the year of training, that initial $3,500 fee, then it's we charge $100 a month for people that want to stick around. And most of our graduates they stick around, or even if they've gone through the year, or I think we just recently bumped it up to a year. It was 6 months for a long time. But
how many active students you got right now?
I think I just checked the Facebook the other day. It ran around 60.
Wow.
And that doesn't, not every class has 60 students in it. It's just we have 60 students that kind of come and go.
Okay. That's awesome, man. I mean, you can also follow Mr. Ken Anderson on Twitter. He's got almost 300,000 followers, which is insane. That's insane. You're also on Instagram. The Academy is also on Instagram.
Yep.
People can go and support you by buying some T-shirts from Pro Wrestling Tees. You still got some asshole. I like that asshole T-shirt. That's fantastic. That I'm an asshole.
10-4. Yep.
And I love this one. Nice guys finish last. A true lesson in life people need to fucking learn. I agree with that. And you and the wife are on TikTok, and you're known as a couple that smells good. I love it. Who wants smelly people?
That's my wife. Anderson Squared on TikTok.
That's awesome, man. I see you guys do a lot of content. Like I mentioned earlier, you have a beautiful family, man. You have a good thing going. My dream for you, I want to see you in the 2024 Royal Rumble. I want to hear that music. Let's make that the goal. Let's start a petition. Call up Vince. Call up Triple H. Just like you were calling Kelly? You were calling him all the time?
Yeah.
Bother Vince. Bother him before he drops dead, and you get your ass back where you belong. Go back home to the WWE.
We'll see.
You make a lot of fans happy. You really would.
We'll see. Thank you.
I would love to see you in the Impact Hall of Fame. I think you deserve to be in there. You should be the next inductee in my eyes. So.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Are too kind.
No, I'm one of the admins on Busted Open. They let me call whenever I want. So the next time I'm on Busted Open live, I'm giving you, the Academy, a huge shout out. And
I would appreciate that.
I'm going to tell Bully to reach out to you to bring you on to Busted Open. So
I would love it.
You would be an excellent guest. You have a lot to bring to the business. And if you get a chance, you should beat up Bully Ray too. He's still wrestling at Impact. You should go to Impact for one match just to kick his ass, and then you go to WWE.
I really, really enjoyed working with Bully. He was just one of my.
I worked with him all the time. Probably worked with him the most, I would say.
I worked with him quite a bit through Aces and Eights, and then when Aces and Eights split up. So I just had a blast with him.
But your match at Bound for Glory 2011, that was the cast match was great, but that one was top for me. Especially
Thank you.
On spot.
Now, you've had a lot of banger after banger, man. And not only have you had bangers everywhere, you're on quite arguably the greatest podcast in the history of all time. And you're on there every episode. I'm going to show you the video we play every day.
What are you yelling? I'm excited.
Nice to
Pedigree, 1, 2, 3, project you live by the champ. A last ride straight to hell, a tombstone, a choke slam. Here they give it to you raw. This is Wrestling with Savage. SmackDown, hold the title. This is Wrestling with Savage. What?
Wrestling with Savage begins now.
Yeah, that's our little intro. I made sure I put you in there. You will be in there forever.
I love it.
As we continue to grow, we're going to teach all the new generation of bums and noobs who know nothing about pro wrestling. We're going to teach them about Mr. Anderson over here. Hopefully, you can teach them a little more next year at the Rumble, because I'm sure you're going to be in there. Give me a number, 1 to 30. Where do you want to come out if you're in the Rumble?
Number 1.
And all right, and who's the champion at WrestleMania next year?
Probably Roman Reigns.
You're probably right. They'll probably be champion for the next 42 years. All right, all hail the Tribal Chief, Ken Anderson. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been a dream to just speak to you on the show. And yeah, man, you're welcome anytime, man. If you ever want to crash, you're welcome. Anytime.
Thank you for having me. Can I just add one thing? People can text me directly at 507-722-2776. That's the Academy line. Comes right to my phone or to my wife's phone. And one of us will, talk to you, get you started. And if I understand that not everybody lives in the Twin Cities area. Not everybody is able to make that kind of a move. So I would like to help people find decent wrestling schools so that they can do it right. And I've done that before, and I'll continue to do that. So if somebody calls me and says, hey, I can't move to Minnesota, but I'm in Texas, I've got a, Booker T's wrestling school. So
I appreciate that tremendously. We do get a lot of independent wrestlers on this show who still need guidance. We get people that always ask, where can I go train? I will show them this episode. I will show them that phone number. I will tell them that phone number. And you never know who's going to end up becoming a legend out of that.
You never know. And I would suggest, even if you've been trained and you graduated from a wrestling school, like, you can still learn. Go somewhere else. Go get trained at another school. Don't just rest.
The only thing I'm going to ask from you before we leave right here is, can you just hit us one time with that, Mr.
Kennedy! Kennedy signing off.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, Ken. Have yourself a good night. Tell your wife good night. God bless, man. We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
Jay, that was fucking awesome.
It was beautiful.
What a show.
Hey, what a man.
What a show.
This guy, man.
We came through on the clutch. We told you fuckers Ken Anderson would be here.
He was here.
He was here for a while.
He really laid everything down, and it was great. I appreciate him. Thanks for having us, interview him, and it was terrific. I can't even say.
I know you were happy because it was just me and you, so you really got a chance.
Still here, so
you got a chance to really talk to Ken Anderson and ask him a lot of questions. I didn't hold back on you. You had some great stuff for him.
I had goosebumps in the beginning, but it wore it off a bit. But tremendous guy, man. I wish him the best. I hope I see him in Impact Hall of Fame. I hope I see him in the Royal Rumble.
You're gonna see him at the Battlefield. Bro, between me, Gilch, Alpha, and Bull James, we're booking. We're gonna book Ken Anderson to come not only do a seminar, but wrestle a match too.
But he's living proof. Hey, look, I've been watching 97. I debuted in 99. It can happen, folks. The living proof right there. We just had it tonight on the show.
Yo, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you share tonight's stream to all your wrestling buddies that know Ken Anderson, because I guarantee you this was one of the coolest interviews you're ever going to see with someone who was a Money in the Bank winner, someone who was a top prospect. And let's be honest, Jay, this was someone that was Vince's hand-picked guy. He was going to be the guy. They don't just let you win Money in the Bank, man.
He is always the guy in my eyes, but not going to get into all that.
Nah, but I do like my idea of seeing him in the...
He's always been the eye. I always agree with whatever he says in any interview. So if he's watching still, hey, I'm on your side. I agree with you, buddy.
Dude, I think he's going back home to WWE, bro. I think it's going to happen.
I really do hope so. Like I said, let the bridges burn. They already burned. And everybody grows older. They grow wiser. And they realize that, hey, there's no need to carry.
There goes Jay's laptop. Jay's laptop died. Obviously, I use the desktop, so I'm still here. But yes, I've been watching Wrestling with Savage. And thank you so much for supporting. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll catch you tomorrow night for AEW Dynamite live on Wrestling with Savage. Is Jay back? I don't know. I don't think he's back. I think he's done. I think he's done. Tomorrow night we got AEW. All right, make sure you come and hang out with Jacob Fatu May 10th at the Wrestling Universe. We'll be there live. You can hang out with Jacob Fatu and me at 80s Wrestling Con. Savage will be there live. You can come meet Savage, meet Marty Jannetty, hang out, chill out. Jay's back. He's back.
Yeah.
We out of here.
So let the bridges burn, whatever, but he's a great guy. I think everybody got wiser and they're smarter, and it's best for business to have Anderson back at WWE. So I hope we see him back. Thank you.
Tomorrow night, AEW, Evil Kip. Tune in live on Wrestling with Savage. Everybody, have a good night. We're out of here for real this time. We're gone. Jay's gone.